Good afternoon, everybody. Glad to have you along with us this afternoon. We'll give everybody just a couple of minutes to get logged in here, and we will begin our webinar shortly. Again, glad to have you with us this afternoon and hope you're having a great day. Just wanted to log in and say hi to everybody as you are logging in here. Again, we'll give everybody a couple of minutes to get logged in, and we will begin our webinar shortly. See a lot of folks coming in. For those of you that are in the webinar right now, if you can see my screen and hear me pretty clearly, would you raise your hand in your control panel and just give me an indication that you can see and hear everything okay? Excellent. Good. See a lot of hands going up. I've had some connectivity issues over the last few hours, so sometimes my sound goes a little bit out. So I'm glad you can hear me clearly today. Again, I see we've still got people coming in, so we'll let people get in here and we'll start shortly. I'm going to go ahead and turn my video off. Just wanted to say hi to everybody. Okay, it is 2:03, so let's go ahead and get started. Once again, good afternoon, everybody. Glad to have you with us this afternoon. We are kind of doing some outreach to you, our customers who utilize DIR for your information technology products and services. Some of you may already be familiar with our agency. Some of you may be new to DIR and what we do and what we offer. So we kind of just do these as a courtesy training, but right now we're working in conjunction with the Governor's Small Business Summits going on throughout the state of Texas. DIR participates in those as a vendor for vendors who want to do business with the state of Texas. So the governor's office goes around to several cities throughout the state of Texas, and they meet with the vendor community on how to do business with the state. DIR attends those on how to do technology business with the state because we are the technology agency for the state of Texas. So this morning, our crew is in Corpus Christi, was in Corpus Christi doing the Governor's Small Business Summit from the vendor side. And then as we do these, we always like to gather our customers together to do a customer presentation on how to utilize DIR's contracts and services. So given that, our audience today is primarily in and around the Corpus Christi area. We do have some folks from Tarrant County Tarrant County Water District on with us, and also a couple of folks from the city of Houston. They wanted some training. We were getting ready to do this webinar, so we've got some people from other entities throughout the state as well. Our audience today is also procurement and contract folks, as well as information technology staff, some IT directors, things like that. So all of you are customers of DIR and are eligible to use our products and services for your information technology products and services. I did send the slide deck out to you all this morning, so you should have a copy of that already. I sent it out about 10 o'clock. Also want to remind everybody that you are muted today. We've got a pretty large number on with us, but if you open your Q&A box, Drop your questions in there as I go along today, and I will definitely take some time to answer those. So just again, open your Q&A box, pop your questions in there. We'll take some time to answer that as well. So having said that, let's go ahead and get started with our webinar today. Again, many of you may be familiar with DIR and what we do as an agency, but we are responsible for a lot of things when it comes to information technology. We've got our IT procurement and contracting division here at our agency. That's our cooperative contracts program, where many of you can go buy directly through our vendors for things like hardware and software and technology related services through our cooperative contracts vendors. We've also got our shared technology services program here at DIR. That's where we do it for you. You tell us the service you need, and we go get that IT service done on your behalf. We also handle a lot of data management functions for you, our customers, as well as for the state of Texas. That includes the Texas Open Data Portal, which is the official state repository of publicly available electronic data. I'm going to talk about that today as well. We're also responsible for the texas.gov portal. So if you've ever been online to renew your auto registration or to buy a hunting or fishing license, you've done business with the state of Texas through that texas.gov portal. We also provide technology leadership as an agency. We help set IT standards for the state of Texas, as well as be a resource to you, our customers, in helping you set standards for your entities as well. We also offer telecommunication services through our Texan contracts. I'm going to talk a little bit about that program today as well. And then, of course, keeping the state safe. Cybersecurity makes up a large responsibility of what DIR is responsible for as an agency. This is just a little of my background. My name's Tom Hay, and I've actually been with DIR for 13 years now, been with the state for 15. I came to DIR from TRS, the Teacher Retirement System. There's an agency that many of you are on here today are familiar with. And I've had a great career path at DIR. I worked in vendor management when I started here, and then I went over and managed cooperative contracts for the agency for a while. And then I popped over and managed some of our shared technology services contracts, including the Texas.gov contract. So my time at this agency has been very well spent, and I've learned and grown a lot in my time here. So what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about some statutes for procurement methods. I'm going to give you some DIR background and what we're all about. I'll go into a deeper dive on our shared technology services program and how those services are available to you, our customers. We'll talk about our cooperative contracts. I'm going to do a demo on searching the DIR website. We'll talk about writing a statement of work for IT and share some of those tips with you. Tips for managing IT contracts. There are hub opportunities available through DIR, or opportunities to do business with historically underutilized businesses who are either contract holders or resellers on DIR contracts. We'll talk about some cybersecurity training requirements and also share some additional information. And then I'll wrap up and leave you with some resources. And again, if you do have questions, open your Q&A box and pop those in there, and I'll monitor those as we go along today. So let's start off with talking about a couple of statutes for procurement methods for you procurement folks. So a couple of things to know is that DIR uses the RFO method to procure AIS, or information technology services. Very similar to an RFP and that process, but RFOs are typically used to procure more complex or larger type procurements, which of course IT is part of that. All of our contracts are competitively bid through the state bid processing rules, and our contracts are awarded in accordance with statute as set forth by the Texas legislature. That then allows you, our customers, to order directly through our cooperative contract vendors by issuing your PO directly to that vendor with that vendor contract number noted on your purchase order. And then as an agency, we follow Texas Government Codes 2157.068 for IT products and services, and Government Code 2170, which is the government code for telecommunication services. And you can also reference the State of Texas Procurement and Contract Management Guide. It provides additional information on procurement methods and some specifically relating to information technology. So if you could take DIR and split it into four basic categories, this is kind of what the pie chart would look like. First of all, we are a state agency, and we were actually created in 1989. So we're still kind of young yet, but if you remember 1989, that's really kind of when technology started changing all of our lives, either professionally or personally, on how we did business and how we operated. So the legislature created our agency specific to information technology for the state of Texas and as a resource to you, our customers. And our main purpose is to serve as the Chief Information Office for the state of Texas. So in the upper right-hand corner, I'll start with our cooperative contracts program. This is kind of the do-it-yourself or the self-service model of IT procurements that allows you, our customers, to go directly to our vendors and buy things like hardware items, software as a service items. We also have services contracts available for you to procure through for things like deliverables-based IT services. I'll talk a little bit more about those contracts in a minute. We also have information technology staffing services contracts available where you can bring contractors in to do IT related work at your entities. And then it does also give us the opportunity from time to time to initiate what we call short-term bulk purchasing opportunities. When we know that certain IT products or services are in very high demand from our customers, that gives us the opportunity then to initiate those short-term bulk purchasing opportunities where those products and services are offered at yet deeper discounts as compared to the regular contract rate. So for example, let's say DIR knows that Health and Human Services needs to order 4,000 new computers. And we also know that Bexar County needs to order 3,000 new computers. We've identified a potential bulk purchasing opportunity. So we're going to take that information back to our computer contract vendor holders and attempt to negotiate short-term bulk purchasing opportunities where those products and services are going to be offered at yet deeper discounts. So for example, if a Dell laptop is currently 25% off of MSRP on the Dell contract, if it's on a bulk purchasing opportunity, that Dell laptop might be offered at 40% off of MSRP, but it's only going to be for a short amount of time. Could be 3 months, could be 6 months, whatever we negotiate with those vendors. They're kind of what we call our Kmart blue light specials, for those of you that remember that reference, because they are short-term opportunities where you can buy certain products and services at deeper discounts. We've had some in the past for computers and accessories. We've had some in the past for different types of software. We are currently in the process of trying to negotiate some more to get in place for you, our customers, to utilize. So the nice thing about those is that there are no minimum or maximum purchases on those. You can buy one item or you can buy 4,000 items if it's available on a bulk purchasing opportunity. The other neat thing is that they're open to all of our eligible DIR customers. So I've got a little bit more information later in the presentation to share with you on that as well. We also do a lot of communications type work here at our agency. We manage the Capitol Complex telephone system for agencies in and around the Capitol Complex in downtown Austin, as well as the Capitol building itself. We provide internet and network operations and services and make sure that those are available to you, our customers. And then, of course, like I mentioned, security operations takes up a large responsibility of making sure that the state and you, our customers, are kept safe. Then we also have our shared technology services. And on the opposite side of co-op, where you do it yourself with our vendors, under shared technology services, this is where we do it for you. So It is required that agreements be on file with DIR in order for you to utilize these services. But once that agreement's in file, it's as easy as logging into a portal. You tell us the service you need, and then we go get that service done for you. So we've negotiated contracts with vendors and put in place for things like data center services, public cloud, private cloud. This is also where the texas.gov portal lies within DIR as well. Also, the Open Data Portal, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. And then we also offer managed security services through this program at DIR for you, our customers, as well. And then, of course, policy and planning is a large area for DIR. We do that IT strategic plan for the state of Texas. What is that for the next year? What about 3 years, 5 years down the road? Doing that more longer term strategic plan. We also provide IT standards for the state, as well as be a resource to you in helping you set IT standards for your entities. And then, of course, we're always busy reporting on the state of technology to the Texas legislature and making sure that they know what's going on with the state of technology in Texas. So, who can buy through DIR, or who are our eligible customers? Well, Texas state agencies and institutions of higher education, there's about 183 eligible entities within the state of Texas. Local governments, there's over 6,200 plus eligible entities. That includes cities, counties, school districts, municipalities, junior colleges, special purpose political subdivisions, those types of local governments. There's also other organizations who are also eligible to procure through DIR's contracts. That includes assistance organizations as defined by the Comptroller's Office. So those of you that are members of the Texas Smart Buy program, you are eligible to use DIR's contracts. Also ERCOT, LCRA, private schools, private higher ed, volunteer fire departments, public safety entities like 911 centers. Hospitals, we all know that the medical industry carries a high degree of IT about it anymore. So hospitals are also eligible. And then through an interstate cooperation contract, we've got a large number of public entities located outside of Texas who, when they have that agreement in place with us, are also eligible to procure through our cooperative contracts for their IT needs. So that includes out-of-state state agencies, local governments, school districts, and public institutions of higher ed located outside of the state of Texas. They like how we do things. So, when they see how our contracts are already done and structured, it's easy for them to just have that agreement and go buy what they need. So let's talk about our shared technology services program here at DIR. And this is the set of contracts we have in place where we do it for you. And again, it is required that eligible entities have an agreement on file with DIR in order to utilize these services that are available to you, our customers. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that process as well. We've negotiated a contract with a multi-sourcing services integrator, or an MSI, and that vendor is Capgemini. So Capgemini kind of acts as the overall program manager of our shared technology services program here, as well as the vendors and then the services that those vendors provide through that program. So they pretty much handle the business operations, customer relationship management things, service management issues, things like that on behalf of our customers. Then the specific offerings available for customers to utilize through this program include things like data center services. That includes public cloud, private cloud, mainframe services for you, our customers who are utilizing mainframes in your IT worlds. There's also technology solution services, print mail services, and then security operations available. This is also where the texas.gov portal lies. That portal allows all of us to do business with the state of Texas when we need to. So our customers, DIR's customers, are you entities or agencies who put services available through that portal that then allow all constituents to do business with the state of Texas. We also offer managed security services to you, our customers, through this program for things like device monitoring or risk assessments, security incident responses, things like that. And then we also have the Open Data Portal, which is the official state repository of publicly available electronic data. What that basically allows you, our customers, to do is to post electronic data out on that portal, thereby making it available to the general public. So under our data center services tab here, again, we've got Capgemini acting as the overall program manager. SIAC is the vendor who holds the contract for just making sure that the state's data centers are kept safe and keeping those bad actors out of the picture. So SIAC is actually doing services offering things like privileged access requirements, setting security policy and standards, doing things like active threat identifications and security incident and event management. Again, just making sure that the state's data centers are kept safe. We filter billions of security threats every month through this. You'd be surprised at who tries to hack into your system. So Deloitte has a contract available for customers to use for things like technology planning services through the data center services program. Solution consulting, project delivery, those types of services are available to utilize through this program. Deloitte also has a contract available for things like application development, maintenance, legacy modernization. If you're using the data center services and you need to bring more outdated apps to more modern standards, those services are available. Staff augmentation services are also available through the data center services program here at DIR. Private cloud services, that vendor is Atos, providing private cloud services to you, our customers, through this program. So, for example, we know that the storage for body cameras takes up a large amount of space on people's servers or your customer service servers. And sometimes entities don't have that space to store body camera footage. So that's where our public cloud, or I'm sorry, our private cloud offerings could come into play for you, because they offer things like backup as a service, disaster recovery services for data and information technology. So private cloud services are available through an offering with Atos. Public cloud services, that vendor is Rackspace. They offer things like Amazon Web Services, Azure, Google, Oracle services. Email and Office 365 is also available through this offering through Rackspace as well. Geographic information systems, doing things like aerial shots, aerial photography, things like that. Mainframe services, that vendor is Atos, pretty self-explanatory, offering support services to you, our customers who are utilizing mainframes in your IT worlds. Not everybody has migrated to the cloud yet, but there are still customers utilizing mainframes. And then print mail services, that vendor is Xerox, offering things like managed print mail, digitization services, bulk mailing services, document management systems. So that kind of gives you an idea of the types of services that are available through our data center services offerings program here at DIR. Texas.gov. Again, if you've done business with the state, then you've already utilized the Texas.gov portal as a constituent for the state of Texas. There are basically two vendors who make Texas.gov work. One of them is Deloitte. So they're responsible for things like making sure that the constituent payment portal is up and running. The Texas by Texas Digital Assistant is a single source sign-on that allows you to do many different things on the Texas.gov portal. They handle identity solutions and making sure that you have access to your account. They handle the marketing and advertising for the Texas.gov website, and also the internet portal. So if you have been on Texas.gov to, say, renew your auto registration, as you're clicking through those services you need, that part is all handled by Deloitte. The apps, the portal, making sure that those apps are up and running and supported. But then when you go to enter your credit card information to buy those services that you just purchased, that part's all handled by Tyler Technologies. So Tyler Technologies processes payments through Texas.gov. They also make sure that those payments are compliant and that they are then appropriated to the right accounting systems through the Texas Comptroller's Office. Interestingly enough, there are other payment services available through this program. If maybe a local government needs to put a payment portal out there to have customers pay utility bills through, those types of services are also available through the texas.gov payment portal. We have managed security services available through this program as well. The vendor providing all of those services through this program is AT&T, offering things like, endpoint device management services, also firewalls, managing firewalls, malware detection, things like incident responses, like response preparedness services, digital forensics, vulnerability assessments, security risk assessments, things like this. We're seeing a lot of school districts right now sign up for this program through DIR because of grant money that they received, and they are using this program as a managed security service at school districts in Texas right now. Another example, you might remember back in August of 2019, there were 23 counties in the state hit with ransomware, and it locked down their systems. Through this agreement with DIR, those counties had on file with us, we were able to step in and help those counties get that ransomware removed from their systems. We always encourage our customers to have this agreement on file with us just in case you need it. You're never charged for anything until you actually need the service because y'all know that in the event of a cybersecurity attack that minutes, hours, and days count, right? So if this agreement's on file with us and you have an attack, we can typically have boots on the ground within a couple of hours helping get that risk removed from your system. So incidentally, all 254 counties in the state do have this agreement on file with us, and they use it to secure their election systems come election season in Texas. The Texas Open Data Portal is a program that is available to you, our customers, no matter your entity type. If you're a state agency or a higher ed or a local government or school district, there are many different categories available where you can post electronic data out to the public, thereby making it available to the general public. This is a service where it's typically larger data sets that are posted out there on the Open Data Portal, but we manage those data sets for you, so you don't have to manage them on your own systems. A couple of examples. DIR, we post our cooperative contract sales data out under the business and economy section on the Open Data Portal. So any of you can actually go out and see who's bought what on our DIR cooperative contracts program. That data goes back 13 fiscal years now. Another example is that the Department of Agriculture started posting electronic data out there, and they let us know that their public information requests dropped by 60% because now that information is available to the general public. Another example is that here in downtown Austin, Cap Metro is the bus service provider. And Cap Metro posted their bus schedule out on the Open Data Portal. There was a company who saw that and took that data and wrote an app for it. Now customers download that app that's updated every 15 seconds, and customers can see if they can walk to their bus or if they need to run to their bus. So those are some examples of how the Texas Open Data Portal is a resource to you as well. And this link is actually live in your PDF version of the slides that I sent. I'm going to give you a little demo here on this Open Data Portal a little bit later in the presentation. There are links to those videos available on the DIR YouTube channel. You can see little 3 to 4 minute videos about our shared technology services program. I've also given you the main link to the DIR YouTube channel as well. There's other things out there like how to write a statement of work or other areas that might be of interest to you from an IT standpoint as well. So let's switch gears a little bit. I've talked to you about our shared technology services where you do need to have an agreement with us and then we do the service for you. Let's talk about our cooperative contracts program. And this is where maybe many of you might already be familiar with DIR and have used this program through our agency before. You don't need to have an agreement on file with us in order to use our cooperative contracts with our vendors. You can go directly to them and buy things like different types of hardware, software as a service. We also have technology training services available, other technology services like cybersecurity services or web development services. We do also have our IT staffing contracts available. I'm going to talk a little bit more about those. We also have services based or deliverables based IT services contracts. This is also where that bulk purchasing initiative lies within DIR through this program as well. And I'm not going to cover this today, but because this specifically applies to state agencies, this is where state agencies file their statements of work and exemptions with DIR. But I'm not going to cover that topic today because I don't think we have any state agencies on with us. So why use our cooperative contracts for your IT products and services? Well, first of all, they create savings. I'm a pro co-op guy. I worked for a company for a while that had a buy board contract, and I did buy board quotes for our customers for years. Then when I came to DIR, I see things from the contracting and procurement side of co-op. So co-ops really do try to make your lives easier. But in our case, we leverage that state's buying power to negotiate the best discounts that we can from our vendors when they do propose products and services to us. So we're always containing best value in our negotiations. What's in the best value of the state and of our customers, and it also then does give us that bulk purchasing initiative opportunity when we do know that certain IT products or services are in very high demand from our customers. So if any of you do know that you need to make a bulk purchase, let us know that because we can check with our other customers and see if they might have that same need. It also streamlines the purchasing processes for you, our customers, because we've already done a lot of that heavy lifting for you. We've done the RFO, we've negotiated the vendor contracts and put all those in place for you. So that reduces purchasing and contract cycle time, as well as any duplicate efforts, because now you don't have to do that RFP or that RFO. And then it does give you access then to do business with our hub vendor community, historically underutilized businesses. We've got a large number of both prime contract holders as well as resellers who are hub certified through DIR on DIR's contracts. There's also benefits for the vendors as well. They're the ones who report to us once a month what they sell on their DIR contracts and who they sold it to and at what price they sold it at, and if they utilized any resellers or subcontractors. So it's on the vendors to report to us what they sell through their contracts. It's not on you, our customers, to report to us what you buy through our vendors. It also gives vendors access to do business with the public, like state agencies and local governments and school districts and higher ed. And last year, our cooperative contracts program generated almost $3.4 billion in sales. That's a large number. And this is kind of how that spending breakdown looked in FY23. This covers September 1 of 22 through August 31st of 23. So that's the fiscal year. So you can see here that state agencies made up about 28% of that spending. Now, keep in mind that by statute, state agencies are required to use DIR's contracts and services first for their IT purchases. But local governments and K through 12, you guys made up about 55% of that spending last year. Now, part of that is simply because there are more local govs and school districts in Texas than there are state agencies. So keep that in mind as well. Higher ed institutions made up about 15% of that spending, and then assistance orgs and out-of-state customers made up about 3% of that spending through our cooperative contracts program last year. So that all generated down into almost $400 million in savings to you, our customers, and to the state of Texas. And the other really neat thing is that of that spending, about 37% of it was spent with our hub vendors. That's awesome. That is a high amount of spending through our hub vendor community. So we appreciate you doing business with our hub vendors. So what types of products or commodities can you buy through DIR's cooperative contracts? Well, all kinds of computers, desktops, laptops, tablets, the Microsoft Surface Pro series, brands of Dell, HP, Lenovo, and so forth. There are hundreds of different brands of software and software as a service serving many different functions. Things like networking equipment, printers and copiers. I know several of you use our printer and copier contracts at your entities. Law enforcement type products, surveillance cameras, security products. Also, body cameras and drones are available. Things like projectors, cybersecurity products. We've got a certain set of contracts geared toward classroom environments, hardware and software for the learning environment. We've also recently started awarding artificial intelligence products and services. So this is not an all-inclusive list, but it does give you a general idea of the types of products or commodity items that you can procure through DIR's cooperative contract vendors. We also have services-based contracts available for a wide variety of different IT services. That includes our IT staffing services, where you can bring contractors in. We've got technology based training that also includes instructor led training, things like managed document output services, cybersecurity services, web development services if you need to redo or upgrade your websites. I've got vendor contracts available for those types of services. Things like cabling services. If you got a new building and you need to run cables for computer or phone hookups, cabling services are available. Also, other telecom products and services available, things like Zoom and WebEx and those types of conferencing services. We also offer interpreter services as long as they are over the phone or video. That does not include in-person interpreter services. Again, not an all-inclusive list, but gives you a good overview of the types of services that are available. We do have staffing services contracts. If you've got an IT need at your entity and maybe you don't have somebody on staff to do that type of work for you, we've got a large number of vendors where you can bring contractors in to do that IT related work. This shows you kind of some of the job categories that are available for you to bring contractors in to do that work for you. You can also find specialist areas available for things like if you need a drone operator, or if you need a digital media assistant or digital media person, you can find those categories available as well. We offer IT internships through our staffing contracts. So we work in conjunction with Austin Community College, who can then work in conjunction with other institutions of higher ed to offer internships through our staffing contracts as well. And by the way, I want to make a note here. If you are using our staffing contracts, know that we are just now starting to award the refresh of our staffing contract vendors, because the current contracts are starting to expire this year. We've already done the resolicitation and now we're getting ready to award those vendor contracts. So look for more information on the DIR website, because those staffing contracts that are expiring will be replaced with new contracts. Then we also have services-based contracts available for, these are not product-based contracts, but service-based contracts for things like application development, maintenance, support, technology upgrade or migration and transformation services, things like data warehousing, IT assessments and planning services, maybe IT project management services. So these are project-based contracts and work from a statement of work rather than a commodity-based contracts that works from a pricing index. So these can't be used to buy like hardware and software, because these are more project and service-based and work from a statement of work instead. And then again, we do also look for those bulk purchasing opportunities when we know that certain products and services are in high demand from our customers. Please let us know that. If you need to do a computer refresh, or if you maybe need to buy a large amount of maybe some type of software license, let us know that. Reach out to our other customers and see if they might have that same need. And if they do, that gives us then an opportunity to try to get a bulk purchasing agreement in place with our vendors. Again, these are products and services that are offered at yet deeper discounts as compared to the regular contracted rate. So check this website frequently. I will tell you that we are currently in process of trying to negotiate some additional bulk purchasing initiatives right now. So check this link frequently and see what we have available under bulk purchase. And if you do need to do a procurement through our bulk purchasing initiative, you will see all the contract documents as well as the pricing schedules for anything that is associated with anything currently available on a bulk purchasing initiative. DIR also has telecommunications services available to you, our customers, through our contract offerings. We do our telecom services. Again, we manage the Capitol Complex telephone system for agencies in and around the Capitol in Austin. We also have our Texan contracts. These are Texas Agency Network, is what that acronym stands for. And these offer things like voice services. That includes local and long distance services, as well as data offerings, and that includes internet services. So we've got vendor contracts in place for you to buy those types of services through those vendor contract offerings. And then there are other telecom services available through our telecom contracts as well. And that includes things like cell phones, smartphones, data plans, conferencing services that may be part of an overall telecom solution. We do have other standalone conferencing services through our standalone cooperative contracts as well. And then there's other types of telecom services available for things like the IT infrastructure for call centers or service centers, phone management services for the PBXs that sit on our desks when we're in the office. So a wide variety of telecom services available for you, our customers, to utilize through DIR as well. And again, I know many of you are already using some of our telecom contracts for your phone and your internet services. So when you do use a DIR cooperative contract, when you pull up that vendor contract page, you're going to notice many common elements that are particular to that DIR vendor contract. That's going to include the contract document itself. That's going to always probably going to be your first listing on any DIR vendor page. That's going to also include any exceptions that were negotiated with that vendor at the time that that vendor contract was awarded. You will also see the Appendix A as the standard terms and conditions that are specific to that DIR contract. You will also see the Appendix B hub subcontracting plan that is specific to that DIR vendor contract. And that's going to tell you two things. It's going to tell you, A, if the vendor is self-performing under the scope of their DIR contract. In other words, they're doing it all. They're providing the product as well as the supporting services for whatever you're buying through that vendor. Or it will tell you, B, if that DIR vendor is utilizing any resellers or subcontractors under the scope of their DIR contract. So keep in mind that vendors can update that hub form at any point during the term of their DIR contract. So they can add or remove resellers or subcontractors at any point. If they ever do update one, we're going to put the approved date on that vendor contract page when the last update was made to that hub form. So just keep that in mind that vendors can change that. Your Appendix C will be a pricing index if it is a commodity-based contract. You will see the brands available and the discount percent off of those brands. Or if it's a services-based contract, that Appendix C will be a statement of work template. So it'll depend on the scope of the contract you're utilizing, whether you will see a pricing index or a statement of work template. You will also see any other appendices attached as they are needed. For example, you might see service agreements. You might see lease agreements if they are available for that contract. You might also see a statement of work template attached for maybe the service portion of a product you might be buying. So you will also see the attached request for offer. That's what DIR used to advertise on the ESBD for vendor responses and eventually what that DIR contract was negotiated and awarded under. You will also see any amendments that have been processed for that vendor contract as well. So whatever vendor you're utilizing, you can use that vendor contract page to download all your documents for your procurement or your contract file. Couple of things to remember about our cooperative contracts is that there is survivability built into our DIR contracts, what then allows your orders to play out in full, even if that DIR vendor contract expires with us. As long as you issue your PO to that vendor before the contract expiration date with DIR, survivability is going to allow your order to play out in full. So that's why we include that phrase or that clause in our contract documents. So if you've got a 1-year initial term and 3 1-year renewal options to issue to a DIR vendor, but you look on the website and you see that that vendor contract expires on October 1st and there are no renewal options remaining, it's okay. Survivability is going to allow your order to play out in full with that vendor, even if the contract expires with us. We might be over here on the backside trying to negotiate a replacement contract with that vendor, but things could be different under that new vendor contract. It could have different pricing or different terms and conditions. The other possibility is maybe that vendor might not get a replacement contract because sometimes negotiations can break down. So just keep in mind that there is survivability built into our contracts that allows orders to play out even if the vendor contract expires with us. Also, be aware of any areas where vendors try to vary from DIR's terms and conditions. Our customers are allowed to negotiate additional terms and conditions with our vendors, provided they don't conflict with or diminish DIR's terms and conditions. So, if you've got HIPAA requirements or CJIS requirements, which is a security requirement, or you need additional acceptance criteria or additional insurance coverages, it's okay. You can negotiate those things with our vendors, provided anything doesn't conflict with or diminish our DIR T's and C's. If you ever have questions about that stuff, always, and if you have the resource available, maybe get somebody from your legal team involved to look at that because you've all got access to the current terms and conditions for each DIR vendor contract. So remember that when you're negotiating additional T's and C's, you're in the driver's seat because we've already negotiated the T's and C's with the vendors when we negotiated that contract. So remember that our contract terms have priority over almost all other vendor documents. So there are some exceptions, for third-party licensing agreements, or, if you're being asked to just sign a vendor acknowledgement form or something like that. Just keep in mind that if you're being asked to sign something by a vendor and you're not sure if you should sign it or not, reach out to the DIR vendor, to the DIR contract manager for that vendor contract, because vendors should have routed all of their contract documents to us when we negotiated that contract with the vendor. Now, again, there are some exceptions, but if you're just ever unsure if you should sign something or not by a vendor, reach out to the DIR contract manager. We can help answer those questions for you. Vendors can add documents to their contract, but it's a process. It's got to go through a negotiation. It's got to go through reviews and routing and things like that. So it can take some time to add documents. Okay, I have got 2:50 on my computer. Why don't we take a little break here? Come back at 3 o'clock take about 10 minutes. The second half goes a little bit quicker. So I hope you find this helpful. I don't see any questions in the Q&A box. If you do have any, feel free to drop those in on our break and we'll take a look at them when we get back. So again, let's just come back at 3 o'clock and I'll hop in and we'll go through the second half. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you shortly. All right, everybody back and ready to rock and roll on the second half. So instead of talk through a few slides, what I'm going to do is bear with me. I'm going to pop over and I want to, uh, I hope you can all see my DIR website now. If you can, give me a hand raise just to make sure you can see the DIR website. Awesome. Okay, thank you. So we redesigned the DIR website back in 2014. No, 2021, I'm sorry. And we tried to make it a little bit easier for both our customers and our vendors to find information on the DIR website that they might be hunting for. So what we attempted to do was keep this ribbon here consistent on every DIR page, no matter what you're looking for. We just tried to group information a little bit better. So you can see here that under like IT solutions and services, you can look for certain categories of things you might be looking for on the DIR website. There's also different program areas like our cooperative contracts or our shared technology services contracts. If you're an information security officer and you might be looking for information on that, you've got program areas or categories. And one of the neat things we've tried to do was like if you're looking for hardware products or related services, if you click on that link, you can scroll down and find different categories of hardware contracts that we have available. So if you're looking for maybe tele-interpreter services, you can do that little drop down, and at the end of each one, you can click on that link right there, and that's going to pull up the list of interpreter services contracts that we have in place with vendors right now. So there's a couple of little search options that you can do that as well. You can also do the same thing if you're looking for software products and related services, like case management software or cybersecurity software, or the education IT stuff. So if you're looking for print services and printer copier contracts, you can go to the bottom of that category and click on that link and pull up our printer contracts. You can also come back up here and click on our services category under related content, and that'll show you the list of our services contracts. Cloud services, web development, things like that, DBITs. So some of those overlap, but those are some ways that you can find current vendor contracts. You can also, look for things like policy and guidance if you're looking for security product or security information or accessibility standards or technology legislation that affects all of us. One of the other neat things is we added the IMA drop down. So if you're a higher ed or a school district or a local gov, you can click on those links and be taken to pages that would be prevalent to what you might need. Then, of course, we've also got the ever popular search DIR function. And I use this every day, multiple times a day. So typically when I'm searching the DIR website, like you guys probably are, I don't really want all pages and content because that always brings back too many search results. But what you can do here is click on the contracts and vendors tab. And in here, you can search by different keywords or different brands or different categories, vendor names, things like that. So in the slides that I provided, I'm going to give you just a quick example here. Let's say I want to search by Microsoft, and I want to see the DIR contracts that pertain to the word Microsoft. I'm going to type that in, and I'm going to click search. So right now I've got all results, but I'm typically looking for contracts that are associated with my keyword search, whatever that keyword is or keywords are. So I want to make sure that I'm clicked on contracts, and that narrows my search down a little bit more to about 28 contracts that are associated with the word Microsoft. And here you can also further down select if you're looking for cable modem services or computers. These are product and services categories that you can look through. You can also further down select by brands. If you click on that, you'll be taken to a scroll bar here. You can actually go down and see all the different brands of types of products that we've got to say associated with DIR contracts. You can also further down select by hub types. If you want non-hub or certain vendor hub types, you can also select that, as well as maybe look for certain commodity codes that pertain to your procurement codes that you might be using that are associated with your search as well. So that's where you can further down select. But I'm just going to use this as an example. I've got 28 contracts here that are associated with the word Microsoft. And you can see that some of those have expired, but you can also download those results into an Excel worksheet. And so I want to make sure that I've got my keyword in, that I'm on contract and vendor results, that I've got contracts, the button here selected. And then I want to make my expired contracts toggle switches off. You don't really want to include expired contracts in your search. Sometimes they show up, but this is kind of a safe bet to have that off. You can also download this data into an Excel spreadsheet. I'm going to click on that, and I want to download my search results of what I have just typed in and searched for on the DIR website. So you can download that by clicking here, and then it's going to come up. Going to click on that. And this is what that spreadsheet is going to show you. It's going to show you the vendor name. It's going to show you the DIR contract number. It's going to give you a brief overview of the types of products and services that are available. I don't extend this out because it's a very large column. It also gives you the DIR contact person. It shows you the current contract end date. It's not the full contract term date, it's just the current term end date, and whether that vendor is a hub or a non-hub. If it's blank, they're a non-hub. If they are a hub, it's going to show you what their hub status is. And then it also gives you the vendor contact information, their email, their phone number, whether it's E-rate qualifiable. And you'll notice here that this contract 4471 by Microsoft is listed multiple times. That's because over here in column K, there are resellers associated with that Microsoft contract. So you'll probably want to reach out then to the reseller to get any pricing information for that contract here. It also shows you if that reseller is hub or non-hub, as well as the vendor information for those resellers. So that can, be a good way to maybe just go in and capture some email addresses and pop them into Outlook and say, I need your pricing for, Microsoft product, blah, 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 by 5 o'clock on April 30th. So use that spreadsheet at your leisure. Hopefully it's a tool to help you do some vendor outreach. So you can download. And then also you'll notice that some of these are only listed one time. Oops, let's go back over here. You'll notice that some of these contracts are only listed one time. That's because there are no resellers associated with them in column K. So you want to reach out to the prime vendors for anything that you may be looking for with your associated keyword search. So going back over to the website, I'm going to cheat a little bit on this example because I used to manage this contract back in the day. So let's say I want to look at contract DIR CPO 4471, and I want to see what Microsoft offers under the scope of that contract. You'll see here your vendor information. You've got vendor contact information here, and you've also got a DIR contact. So James manages this contract for DIR. You'll see that this contract term date expires March 9th of 25. the full contract expiration is also that same date. So what that tells me is this contract's fully going to expire on March 9th of 25, and there are no renewal options remaining on it. On this contract, you can also see what the scope of it is. It's education IT. This contract offers Microsoft Surface products. So, okay, I need to buy some Microsoft Surface Pro products. So I'm in the right contract. You can also see the commodity codes that are associated with this contract. You'll see the brands available under this contract. And for those of you that use our software contracts like SHI or Carasoft, you'll see all the brands listed under those contracts under the brands tab. You'll also see the contract documents. And this is the slide that I showed you earlier that has the contract, the terms and conditions, their hub plan, their Appendix C pricing index. So I want to see what's available on this DIR contract. So I'm going to click on their pricing index. And I can get an idea here that this is the Surface Pro series, and their percent discount off of MSRP looks like it's going to be 8% for the Surface Pro product, but their accessories and their warranties are 16% off of MSRP. So that gives me an idea of what their pricing schedule discounts are. So I'm going to go back one, and you can also then come up here and look to see if there's any resellers associated contract, and there is on this one, and you'll see those listed under the reseller information, and you'll see whether they're hub or non-hub and who you can reach out to for pricing information. Also keep in mind that each DIR vendor contract has a vendor website page associated with it. So if I want to go on and see what is associated with this contract, I clicked on that vendor link right here, that vendor website, and I can come over here and say, okay, I see that this is the education IT contract that offers the Microsoft Surface Pro series. I want to look at their price list. So I'm going to click on that price list link. I'm going to open up their price list. Ta-da! So this is going to show you a description of the product. Some of them do have the SKU listed. It shows you the MSRP, the discount percent, and the DIR extended price. So this is your pricing guide for commodity-based contracts. And you may also want to just keep, kind of keep looking at their pricing list to make sure that you're kind of in the right realm of things, because they do have education pricing down here on a separate tab. So if you're an educational institution, it looks like you have different, maybe different pricing. So that's your kind of general guide to find pricing information on vendor websites. Now, if I go back to the DIR website, I use the Microsoft example. I want to then, maybe I want to see what Adobe products are, excuse me, are available. So I'm going to click search again, and then I'm going to go back to vendor, contract and vendors, and I'm going to type in the word Adobe. And I want to look for contracts that are associated with the word Adobe. Again, I'm on contract and vendor results, but I want to make sure I'm on contracts because I really don't need 10,000 results. So I'm going to click on contracts. Now, I still have too many results here for my comfort level. So I want to come up here and I'm going to down select a little bit further. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to look for the Adobe brand. And I'm going to click that. I'm going to let it work for just a second. Now we're talking. I'm down to about 5 results here. So let's say that I want to see what, for example, I want to see what journeyed.com offers in the way of Adobe products. So I'm going to go to their vendor website. I'm going to come down here. I want to make sure that Adobe brand is listed here, and it is. They also offer other brands here. Looks like they're also a reseller for the Microsoft Surface Pro series. So, well, how about that? And then I can also look and see what resellers are available. So Hyatt Incorporated is a reseller on this contract. So I want to go out and I want to see what journeyed.com offers in the way of Adobe products. So I'm going to click on that vendor website link. And if you ever run into the situation where this link is broken for a vendor, reach out to the DIR contract manager because that vendor needs to have that link up and running all the time. So this page is specific to this DIR contract, and I want to look at their offerings and discounts. So their Adobe Acrobat DC product is 5% off of MSRP. They have Nuance PDF Pro for 8% off. I want to look at their Adobe price list. So I'm going to click on that link right there. Wait for that to open just a second. Okay, now it's going to open and it should show me what their price list is for the products that they offer through their DIR contract. Need the Jeopardy theme playing. There. Okay, so here is their Adobe price list. It gives you the product description. It shows you the product descriptions, any max or mins, notes on their terms, and also here's the list price and also the DIR price with the admin fee built into it. So there's your guides to finding pricing for commodity-based items on the DIR website. If you ever have questions about that, you've always got a DIR contact person that you can reach out to for questions about that contract. So now another thing I wanted to show you was the Texas Open Data Portal as I'm doing a demo here. That link I gave you in the slide is live, and that address is data.texas.gov. And this is where you can go out and look at your entity spending over the last 13 fiscal years with DIR. Again, we post our cooperative contract information under the business and economy section here. So I'm going to click on that. Now, if you're ever interested in finding a list of our current active cooperative contracts, you can pull that list right here from the Open Data Portal. But if you want to see history spending of any entities on the DIR cooperative contracts, you can find that information here. And if I click on that link, what this is the official contract sales data from FY10 all the way to the current date. And what you can do here is come over here under actions, and let's say you want to look at some of that data. I'm going to go in and I'm going to click on query data. And what this is going to pull up is a complete spending list of everybody, every entity who has bought anything through DIR's cooperative contracts since FY10. But I can further down select here. You can filter these columns. By the way, keep in mind that the purchase amounts are not PO amounts. They are itemized invoice amounts that vendors have reported to us when they do business with your entities. So you might have one PO and then invoice against it many times. So the purchase amount is an itemized invoice amount is what that is. But let's just say I want to filter the customer name column and I want to see by customer name, and I want to say it contains, who can I pick on today? I'm just going to type in the word Sinton, and I'm going to hit enter. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to apply that filter. And again, these are typically larger data sets, so give it just a second to find the information that you're filtering on. The hamsters must not be running very quickly today because it usually doesn't take this long to get a result back. Aha, there we go. So you can see here that, okay, so this pulled in a pretty broad spend or a pretty broad result. Sinton ISD, the city of Sinton, all of those entity types have spent money on DIR's cooperative contracts going back to fiscal year 2010. And you can arrow through to next pages and scroll up and look for your entities. I can do the same thing if I want to come down here and I want to type in the word Victoria. I'm going to hit enter and I'm going to apply that filter. So here's the search results. So Victoria ISD, the city of Victoria, University of Houston at Victoria. You can see now these are older contracts that have now expired, but you can see that this goes back to 2010. You can also add another filter here and maybe select by fiscal year. And I want to see what these entities spent in fiscal year. I'm just going to type in 2019 and hit enter. And then I'm going to apply that filter. So there's Victoria County, Victoria ISD, the city of Victoria. So all of those entities spent money through several different DIR vendor contracts, shows you the contract number, the scope of the RFO that they bought that through, the RFO number, and their entity type. So there's a lot of good data out here that you can go and filter through um, and find additional information. You can also, remove filters if you want to take off some things. Let's say I want to look at Flower Bluff. I can type that in. Well, here, let me do this. Let me apply that filter. So Flower Bluff ISD has spent on DIR cooperative contracts over the years as well. So you can use that information. We are transparent as a state agency. We have to post that data. So that's where you can find that information. So hopefully you use that tool at your leisure. If you might be looking for your entity spending, you can always go out to the Texas Open Data Portal and then make sure you come over here and query data, use the query data function over here. That's how I got to this information here. All right, I'm going to pop back over to my presentation and we'll finish it up here. So these are all the screenshots that I shared with you and things that I just went through. Okay, a couple of quick things on statements of work. It can be kind of challenging to write an IT statement of work, but there are certain DIR contracts that do require a statement of work if you're dealing with those vendors. That includes our deliverables-based IT services or our DBITS contracts, our end user IT outsourcing for things like help desk tickets, provisioning of equipment, asset management services, things like that. IT security services, cloud services when you are using a statement of work, also for our comprehensive web development services contracts, document imaging and enterprise content management, and also if you're just doing a lot of customizing or integration of hardware and software and you're looking for an overall solution, it might be to your benefit to do a statement of work and put some description to that project as well. So just keep in mind that, again, depending on the scope of contract you're using with DIR, some of them do have a statement of work template attached to them. Also remember, we just want to point this out that under TAP Code 212, state agencies are required to submit those to us for approval if they're over $50,000. This does not apply to our local governments school districts, higher ed, or our other eligible customers. So if you see that you're supposed to submit a statement of work to DIR for approval and you're not a state agency, don't worry about it. That rule only applies to like TxDOT, DPS, um, Parks and Wildlife, DIR, the comptroller, those types of state agencies. You don't have to submit those to us for review. There are templates available, both waterfall and agile type methodologies of project management. I'm going to talk about what those differences are in a minute. So you'll see those templates attached to the DIR contracts. So when you're writing a statement of work, just some things to keep in mind are things like defining the need. Why are we doing this project? Use the project approach rather than the task approach. You know, a task is a pretty much short and done thing. Typically, when you're doing an IT project, take the project approach. We're trying to upgrade databases. We're trying to get this result. Make it a project because you have to develop those statement of work elements necessary to manage that contract with that DIR vendor. And getting that scope involves things like all kinds of stakeholder engagement. Maybe you'll have procurement and contracts, program areas or subject matter experts, maybe legal or IT or security representation might be involved in developing that statement of work. So it's that team collaboration then that builds that solid, document, and that's how you're going to execute it, analyze it, and manage the project along the way. Also include SMART goals when you're developing an IT statement of work. Putting specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely goals together. These are just a couple of quick examples. So a SMART goal might be to grow online registration by 5% by fiscal year end. A little too vague is just maximize potential of agency website traffic. Yeah, it's good, but it's not really measurable. Or a SMART goal is to reduce licensure wait time to less than 2 minutes by the end of June. To double our capacity to deliver benefit disbursements by November 1st. So when you're writing a statement of work, set measurable, smart, achievable, realistic, and timely goals. And when you develop that statement of work, some key things to ask are, is this going to be agile or waterfall? Agile is a very structured, known path and outcome. Agile is a little more flexible, allows for change, and allows for more customizations. Also, who needs to be on the team to make this succeed? Who are your players? What risks can we identify? And then have plans to mitigate those risks. And then how are we going to measure the success of this project when we are doing this? Again, waterfall works with projects that have assured predictability. You know what you need to get done. Agile is intended for projects that require development or software design, things like that. You might use Wagile, which is a combination of both waterfall and agile. Our templates are designed for both methods when you are writing a statement of work. It's important to include, some elements. Those are things like, what is the scope of this project? What are the roles and responsibilities of everybody involved? What are the deliverables needing to be throughout this project? What are we expecting and when are those needing to be in place? What about our period of performance or our schedule? How long is this going to take us? What about any service levels that need to be included? Is our acceptance criteria included and at an agreed to price? Do we have pricing and milestone schedules built in? And do vendors know when those points are? Also, what assumptions can we come up with? What if we miss something originally, or we assume things? What plans do we have in place to correct those in case we miss something? What about any security standards that might need to be met? Accessibility and compliance. What if you're redoing a website or upgrading your website? You need to make sure it's accessible by the hearing and sight impaired because we all work in some form of government or another. We've got to have our websites accessible. Put an introduction and background into that statement of work. Why are we doing this? What are our past issues? What are we hoping to accomplish by this? Making sure you're having evaluation and response submission requirements if you're seeking multiple vendor responses. Are there additional customer terms and conditions that you need to include in that? What about a transition plan? If you have a current vendor doing the work for you, but you're going to a new vendor, do you have a transition plan in place? Other considerations are things like data and who's going to be hosting that data. Do you have a disaster recovery plan in place so you don't lose data? Where is that backup? Will it be a single vendor award or multiple vendors? Are you going to have different vendors doing different scopes? Making sure that the vendor meets the eligibility requirements and also is qualified to do the work that you need them to do as well. Provided some links to the DIR website for statements of work or our deliverables-based contracts, legacy modernization to bring things more up to standard. If you have accessibility questions, we've got resources for that as well as security resources as well. If you have questions about writing a statement of work, you can reach out to our SOW team here at DIR. They're more than happy to help answer any questions or provide some direction. So when you do use a DIR cooperative contract with one of our vendors, again, we've negotiated the master contracts and put in place for you to buy through our vendors. When you do utilize that DIR cooperative contract, it's then you, the purchasing entity, that is responsible for managing the aspect of that contract with that DIR vendor, making sure the vendor is compliant with the requirements. They understand what's included in the scope and of the contract offerings. Also, again, reviewing schedules and milestones, and does everybody know what those are? You then are responsible for managing vendor performance and making sure that things are getting done to your standards. And also, there may be some cybersecurity things you might need to address. So ensuring any vendor staff has been trained, and if they may have to take any required cybersecurity training. We're going to talk about that training here in just a couple of minutes before I wrap up. So after that contract award, the focus turns to managing that contract and things in accordance with things like the defined scope. Does everybody know what we're trying to do with this project? What about the defined acceptance criteria? And is it at an agreed to price? Does everybody know what the specified milestones are and where we need to be throughout the term of this agreement? And then again, for more agile type projects, you might have many different people involved from planning all the way up to testing. It's important to have a kickoff meeting with that vendor, reviewing the goals and the expected results of the project, everybody on the same page, reviewing performance requirements, what's expected of everybody. Also defining the team, what are the roles and responsibilities of all parties involved. It's important to clarify escalation processes as well and make sure that you do have an escalation process in place. It's always better to manage vendor issues early if you see them developing before they mushroom into something that might be, harder to manage. And also reviewing the schedule at that kickoff meeting is important. Checking deliverables. Are there status reports called out? And when are those due? Again, having a disaster recovery plan in the event that a natural disaster happens. You don't want to lose your data. Doing user acceptance testing. Is this software or is this database doing what we need it to do? We talked about accessibility, making sure websites are accessible by all who might use them. And also the acceptance criteria. Make sure you're monitoring that for compliance. If you're, getting the service that you do need, is that to your standards? If you're taking delivery of computers, were they damaged or did they get wet? Things like that. So checking the acceptance criteria. Also identifying areas of risk. We're human beings. We can't possibly identify every area of risk that might come up, but we have to do our due diligence and then identify any outstanding items we might have missed. Part of that is knowing the difference between a risk and an issue. A risk is something that could happen. An issue is a risk that has happened. For example, a risk is we might have a cybersecurity attack. An issue is, oh no, we've had a cybersecurity attack. Now what do we do? So having mitigations in plan for each one of those identified risks. And then of course, communication with all stakeholders is also important. Checking the quality, make sure you're measuring that against the acceptance criteria, and also identifying items that are not in compliance and having a plan in place to bring those items into compliance. Don't accept items that don't meet the quality and the requirements that you expect. Checking budget, make sure you're looking at deliverables to milestones for payment points. Are invoices being submitted timely and are they correct? Again, just knowing what you're paying for and ensuring you're getting it, and of course, knowing when change orders are needed as well. That's all got to be part of the plan when you're doing an IT project. Okay, winding down here. Keep in mind that there are hub opportunities available on DIR's cooperative contracts. Every DIR contract does have a hub subcontracting plan. Because vendors can update those at any point, make sure you have the most recent copy in your procurement or your contract file. For higher ed and for state agencies, make sure your hub coordinators get involved early because they need to seek clarification on that hub form. Many of our local government or school district customers don't have a hub program, but if you do have a hub program, make sure that your hub coordinators are involved early. Vendors should be submitting a PAR report to you or progress assessment report to you on a monthly basis. That typically comes at invoice time. Make sure if you have a hub coordinator, they need to get a copy of that PAR form. Also remember that any subcontractors that are not on the approved hub subcontracting plan do need to be added before they can be utilized. And we do follow the comptroller site hub program. So for our contracts for other services, the hub goals are 26%, and for commodity items, it's 21.1%. And if you ever have any questions about our hub program or the hub form itself, feel free to reach out to our hub team here at DIR. More than happy to answer any questions for you. Again, that hub form is always Appendix B on the list of contract documents. If you don't see it listed, just reach out to us. We can help track that document down for you. There is wording in our terms and conditions that vendors are aware of that they need to follow certain reporting requirements to you, our customers. Part of that is that progress assessment report as spelled out under the terms and conditions. So if you do get a PAR form and you see that a vendor is using a subcontractor that is not on the approved hub subcontracting plan, it's important to stop work with that vendor because they are not compliant with their DIR contract. The vendor needs to reach out to us at DIR and bring their hub form into compliance. Make sure that they have all their current resellers or subcontractors listed on their hub subcontracting plan. Once that's updated, then work and payments can continue. So basically, the bottom line is that vendors cannot use any resellers or subcontractors that are not on their approved hub subcontracting plan. Here is our hub team. Feel free to reach out to any one of us if you have questions on the hub form or the program itself. All right, a couple of quick things on cybersecurity training. So this applies to all of us who work in state and local governments, institutions of higher ed, and to school districts to some degree. So the state cybersecurity training program is Government Code 2054.519 that required DIR to work in consultation with the Texas Cybersecurity Council. We had to certify at least 5 cybersecurity training programs. We have many more than that available, but we had to have 5. It applies again to most of us who work in state governments that were required to take that. And if you do bring in a contractor and they're going to have access to any state computer systems or databases, they also are required to complete cybersecurity training. So if you need more information, there is a link here on this slide to our cybersecurity training program. There are reporting requirements that local govs and schools and higher ed need to adhere to. Feel free to access the DIR website for any questions on cybersecurity reporting requirements. There's also other resources available to you, our customers, for cybersecurity. There's the state and local cybersecurity grant program that awards money to school districts over 4 years. There's information on the DIR website. There's a forum for state agencies, local govs, higher ed, and the private sector to share information on threats and best practices. You can access that information as well. We've also got the incident response assistance for state and local governments that may be experiencing a cyber incident. You can call that number, and our DIR CISO team, which is Chief Information Security Office, is more than happy to assist. There's volunteer incident responders across Texas to provide, public entities response assistance. That link is also available to you. We partner with institutions of higher ed to establish regional security operations centers to help local governments from cybersecurity threats. We're in a partnership with Angelo State University. That was the first one that was in place. The next ones coming online are with UT Austin and UT Rio Grande Valley. There is, again, information on the DIR website on our SOC centers. There's law enforcement resources available and how they're equipped to manage and respond to cyber crimes that they may be called upon to investigate. So there's the cybersecurity program, certificate program that recognizes local govs that implement the best practices for cybersecurity. And then there's also a guide to help local governments establish, regional cybersecurity working groups. So feel free to access any of those resources for cybersecurity for all of you, our eligible customers. You can also reach out directly to our DIR cybersecurity team if you have questions on cybersecurity incidents or responses. Also want to talk briefly about TexRamp. I know we have some higher ed on with us this afternoon, so this applies to you guys. In 2 sessions ago, Texas Senate Bill 475 defined a need for a Texas Risk and Authorization Management Program, or TexRamp, and this ensures that cloud services are secured for Texas government services. This specifically applies to state agencies, institutions of higher ed, and public junior colleges. What this bill basically says is, if you're one of those entities and you are using cloud services, you are required to use TexRamp certified cloud services. So I've given you the links to the DIR website. You can read more about that in the program manual. You can also see the current list of TexRamp certified products for cloud services on the DIR website. If you are not one of those entities, if you're a school district or higher ed, a school district or a local gov, and you want to use TexRamp certified products, you can also access that list. But the bill did not apply specifically to local govs. It's agencies, higher ed, and junior colleges. This was effective on January 1. I've given you links to the Texas administrative codes that cover state agencies and higher ed. You can also learn more on the DIR website about the TexRamp program as well. Okay, going to wrap up and leave you with some resources today. Keep in mind that when it comes to IT procurements, you've got choices with DIR. You can utilize our cooperative contracts, do it yourself through our DIR vendors, or if the service is available, you can look at utilizing our shared technology services program. Our contracts are competitively bid and are awarded in accordance with statute as set forth by the legislature. For our cooperative contracts program, you don't need to have an agreement in place with us if you're an in-state DIR customer. You then order directly from the vendor and you manage that agreement with that vendor through the DIR master contract. For our shared technology services, you do need to have an agreement on file with us, but it's as easy as logging into the portal. You tell us the service you need, and we get that service done for you. There is information available for vendors on the DIR website. If you're talking to a vendor and you ask them, do you have a DIR contract? And they say no, how do I get one? Well, the Selling Through DIR box is where our vendor information page is located on the DIR website. Or you can simply refer them to us and we can talk to them about the process as well. But it talks about how to do business with DIR. We publish our schedule of solicitation opportunities that vendors can track where we are advertising for certain products and services from the vendor community. They can also access the Hub program through the comptroller's office if they are wanting to get their businesses Hub certified. They can learn how to become a prime DIR contract holder, or they can read about how to become a reseller or a subcontractor on an existing DIR vendor's contract. So those are the two ways vendors can become involved with DIR. They can propose to us as a prime, or they can look at becoming a reseller or a sub for an existing vendor. We do publish our schedule of solicitation opportunities out on the DIR website, so you can see what we have in the planning stage. We typically update this page every September at the start of the fiscal year. If you see things in the planning stage, that means they're in the hopper. They're going to be coming down for vendor responses soon. Then we have the pre-solicitation notices where we're doing pre-bid conferences, vendor meetings, things like that. Then they can see what we currently have posted and is actually out posted on the ESBD for vendor responses. They can also see what we've now got closed and are currently evaluating and negotiating. So vendors have access to that information if they're wanting to be considered for a DIR contract. You can access the schedule of solicitation opportunities on the DIR website. There's FAQs out there, there's events, there are webinars on our calendar out there. There are templates available. Utilize the open data portal. I showed you that demo. That's a good way to look at your entity spending, look and see who's bought what through our vendor contracts. Utilize your DIR contract manager that's the assigned person for those DIR vendor contracts. And also, I want to tell you about our IT sourcing newsletter. We're currently redoing this, but so we're not sending it out right now until it's redone. But this is a weekly publication that we send to only DIR customers, and it talks about new contracts that are awarded, any planned procurements, legislative issues, what contracts we've renewed or have now expired or terminated. You can access that list. If you go to the bottom of the DIR homepage, you'll see 4 blue boxes, and one of them says sign up for communications. And once you click on that, there are several different things that you can sign up for at DIR. And the one I'm referencing here is the IT sourcing. Make sure you use a work email address. We don't accept personal email addresses. But also, as I said, we've temporarily taken this down from the website because we're redoing it. So you just want to check back on the availability to sign up for this sourcing newsletter. And with that, I have run through a lot in the last 2 hours, I know, but if you have any questions, go ahead and pop those in the Q&A box. Or if you don't have any questions at this point, there is contact information for us here at DIR. Lisa, Lynn, and our chief and deputy chief procurement officers. Teresa's over our hub program. I've been around the block at DIR quite a while. I can answer questions or get you headed in the right direction. And Clarissa is our director of our contract management office. So feel free to reach out to us, any one of us, if you do have any questions, or if we can be of any resource to you, we're more than happy. Again, I don't see any questions in the Q&A box, but if you do have any, feel free to reach out to us, and we're more than happy to answer your questions. With that, again, I hope you found this helpful. Let us know if you do have any concerns, and we thank you for your time today and appreciate you doing business with DIR. And have a good afternoon and evening, everybody, and a good upcoming weekend. Thank you.